Hi, my name is Ikea and I am an experienced OBGYN sonographer. Today, I want to talk about essential skills that I believe every OBGYN sonographer should master. Today, we will discuss 9 essential tips that I believe are very important for every OBGYN sonographer. And the last 3 bonus tips will be at the end, so make sure you stay tuned for those because I believe those are the most important tips. Being an OBGYN sonographer is a big deal, okay? I know it seems cute, I know it's fun, we love it. However, it is a big responsibility, and we are responsible for making sure that the baby is healthy and making sure the mother is healthy as well. So, in order to become the best sonographer, one of the best, like myself, there are some skills that are important that they don't really teach you in school, and I kind of want to go over those today. First thing first is know your machine, know your equipment. So I know they teach us about the physics of the ultrasound machine in school. However, when you get your first job or when you get whatever job you get, whatever machine that you're working on, you have to know that machine. Okay. There's so many brands. They do so many things and they all have their own, things that they are best at, I guess. So say for instance, you have a GE machine. That GE machine is going to be completely different from, let's say, a Philips machine. So whatever machine that you are working at your facility, the time that you have a slow day or a downtime, learn your machine. See what you can do, what you can tweak to get those images to look the best that you can. If you're currently in school, you should be doing that now. If you have time where you can go in early and play with your machine and see what makes this image look better, what makes this image look clearer or sharper, those are the things that you should be doing. I have 2 machines that I work on, and I know those machines inside and out. The next thing should be a no-brainer, and it's knowing your anatomy and physiology. Now, as sonographers, I will hope that this is something that you're passionate about, because for me, anatomy and physiology became easy because I'm obsessed with anatomy. Like, I love learning about the human body. I learning about things that most people didn't know in about the human body. So it was important to me. So it was easier for me to pick up on. I learned that before I even got to school. And then when I got into school, I really dived into it more because, again, I was interested in it. And knowing your anatomy inside and out will be helpful in the field when you get your first job, because it will be able to help you understand what is not normal. Because if you know what's normal, like the back of your hand, when you see something that looks a little peculiar, you're going to be like, okay, I know that's not right. And at the time when you first start, you may not know exactly what's right or what's wrong, like what is called or the pathology that you may be seeing. But if you know that anatomy, if you see something that looks a tad bit off, you will be able to pick it up. Patient care and communication skills. Now, I always hear sonographers talk about how they're introverts and blah, blah, blah. And that's fine. Our job really don't require us to do much speaking outside of our room if we do not have to. However, when it comes down to communicating with that patient, that is key. Communication is a part of patient care, in my opinion. And the more you can communicate with the patient, the more you learn that you may find out something that the doctor may not have put in the chart. You may find out something that the patient tell you that they might not have told the doctor. You may see something, and by speaking to the patient, it may help you clear your mind of what you're actually seeing. You may think that you see something and you're like, I don't know what that is. But as the patient keeps talking, something they may say to you may give you vital information that may help you solidify what you thought you were seeing. So patient care and communication is essential. Remember, we have 3 bonus tips at the end, so please do not miss those. Now, this next one is something that I needed to work on in the beginning, and that's paying attention to detail. As a sonographer, you would think that we would just automatically pay attention to every little detail because that's literally our job, right? But details can not only just be with the actual exam, but it can be in your report, paying attention to what you're putting into your report, how you're writing your report, little tweaks here and there. Those paying attention to tiny little details, the patient's period dates, if it match what you're seeing on the scan, things like that are very important. Another skill I believe is important is professionalism and ethical conduct. So this is also something, in my opinion, that gets overlooked. And for the most part, I believe every sonographer that I've really came across, we are really professional beings. We are professional people. For the most part, I haven't really seen any unprofessional sonographers, but I'm sure in every field they're out there. Being rude to patients to me is considered unprofessional. So I actually take that back. I have seen some sonographers be unprofessional because, ma'am, we need to not be rude to patients. And I know some of those patients actually can get on our nerves sometimes. But it matters not. We're at work and professionalism is key. Also, professionalism can look like patient confidentiality, making sure that you are protecting that. So that's also falls into that box. Ethical conduct is also something in terms of like continuing education, how you clean your room, clean your bed after each patient, all those things you're doing when no one's looking. That's professionalism and ethical conduct, in my opinion. I know for me personally, when every patient leaves, gets dressed, and they get out of those stirrups, I'm wiping not only down the bed and disinfecting and sanitizing it, I'm sanitizing and disinfecting those stirrups. I'm doing all the things that I would want someone to do if I was a patient for them, to make it as clean as possible. So yes, very important, very key. Now this next one is for all my hospital girlies, and that is physical stamina. Now, when you're in the hospital, you may have to go from door to door, room to room, floor to floor with your ultrasound machine and push that ultrasound machine. And you need to have physical stamina. Me personally, I'm a private practice girly, so I never had those problems. But a lot of sonographers I know, they work in the hospital. So this is something this is like a big deal. You have to have physical stamina. Also being able to, what is it, like hand-eye coordination? Very important. I'm gonna add that in this too. That ties into this too. Because we're sonographers, obviously we're typing on the keyboard and we're scanning at the same time. So hand-eye coordination go hand in hand. Physical stamina and endurance. And actually, even if you do not work in the hospital, you may have some patients that may be difficult to scan. You may have some babies that may be difficult to scan, and you have to press, like, this arm is like giving Popeyes because you really do have to be strong. So physical stamina is our next one. Now we're going to talk about our bonus tips. So if you stayed this far, thank you very much, because these, in my opinion, are the most important out of all the tips. If you take any tips from this whole video, these next three, very important. Now, first bonus tip, very important: team collaboration and interpersonal skills. Now, team collaboration is very important because I don't care how smart you are. I don't care how good you may think you are as a sonographer. You have to collaborate with the team around you when you're working. So that's collaborating with the nurses, collaborating with the physicians, collaborating with the MAs, with the front desk staff. Everybody, we're all working together to give the patient the best care possible. So team collaboration is extremely important. Again, sometimes you may see something, and if you go up to the physician to confirm what you may or may not be seeing, they may have something in the lab work or whatever the case may be. You guys collaborate and can figure these things out together for the patient's sake. Very key. I cannot stress how team collaboration is so important. Like, I can't stress that enough. Same with interpersonal skills. In this business, so the sonography world is smaller than you may think. And I'm in Florida, so it seems like everybody knows everyone. You want to have those good relationships with everyone that you work with. Foster a great work environment, and those things will take you very, very far. Shoot, sometimes you may feel like, okay, I'm not working right now, and you may be able to call, Sarah down the street for a job. And if they work with a physician that may know you, those physicians call around like, okay, this girl, we're interviewing her for a job. Do you know her? What do you have to say about her? I see on her resume that she worked with you before. And if you have fostered that type of work environment, girl, you in the dough. So very important. I think this is probably my number one tip. Second bonus tip: problem solving skills. Yep. Problem solving skills. Believe it or not, when you get out in that field at your job, when I say in the field, that means when you get into your job, when you start working. When you get out in that field, there's going to be times where you are not going to understand fully what you're seeing. And that's okay, mama, papa. All you have to do is go back to what you've learned in school in your mind and figure it out. Problem solving skills. Everything that I said earlier about team collaboration and personal skills, all of those things will tie into this when it comes to problem solving. Okay. So problem solving skills is necessary. And for our last bonus tip, this is something that people in school are really learning right now, and that will be documentation. Documentation is important because that's how you communicate with the physician. Okay. When they read their report, sometimes you're busy, you in the room all day scanning, they're not going to see you. They ain't gonna come into your room. They're not gonna knock on the door to get some. Well, it depends on the doctor, but for the most part, they're busy too. So they're not gonna be bothering you. In order for them to find out what you saw on that exam, they're gonna have to read your report. So documentation is key. And when you start learning with working with different physicians, you will learn your physician. You will learn what they like, what they don't like, how they like to communicate. Some physicians love over communicate with them. Some physicians like for you to just keep it straight to the point. So documentation is important. So if you are in school right now, please focus on the terminology and the words that you should be using, and make sure they're not really vague when you're documenting. Focus on learning how to solidify that, because remember, that is how you communicate with your doctor. The skills that were discussed today were discussed to make sure that your patient has the best possible outcome. I really hope it was helpful. If you stayed this long, thank you, and I really appreciate it. Please like and subscribe. And if you have any questions, just put it down in the comment section below. If you have any extra tips that you can put down, please do that as well. Thank you again for watching. Bye.